Hi, this is Bob Samuels, and welcome to the ABM Leaders Group Channel Marketing Edition. And I have a great panel here today. And if everybody can introduce yourselves, that would be awesome, and give you a little bit of background and a little fun fact. Who would like to start?
I'll start, I guess. Hi, guys. I'm Tom Campbell. I am currently the marketing manager at Dropsuite, which is a backup company, a backup data company. And we're asked to say a fun fact about ourselves. So I'll keep it in the personal realm versus otherwise. I was actually a panelist on the Phil Donahue show in 1989.
I don't feel like you can leave it there. We need to know the backstory, but we'll do that after.
Do it later. You're right, Heather.
Were you the father or not?
Luckily, this is Phil, so this is way before the Maury stuff.
Very good. Lee?
Hi everybody, Lee LeBeau here, Senior Director of Partner Marketing here at Evanti. My involvement with ABM really takes the form of account planning. We're focused more on the account-based experience versus true ABM, and I know we'll get into the details of that as we move through today. Fun fact, I grew up in Zimbabwe, a tiny little country in Southern Africa, and yes, like the panelists here, I am getting a rather quizzical look because most people don't know where it is. So,
Oh my gosh.
little about me. My heart is very deep in the wilds and wilderness of Africa. So nice to be here, Bob. Thank you for the invite.
Thanks for being here. And so Heather M.
Sure. Heather K. Margolis. I am now the SVP of Marketing of 360 Insights. We are a channel incentive management and ecosystem management platform, but I was the founder of a company called Channel Maven Consulting 14 years ago, which was recently acquired by 360 Insights. So Channel Maven is still alive and well and inside of 360. My fun fact is I always use my middle initial K because my maiden name was Loitherstein, and growing up in Boston, I was Heather Loitherstein. But when I changed my name, thankfully, the second that I got married, I Googled myself and found there was a woman named something Margolis who was the most downloaded woman on the web. And it was not because she was a smart consultant. So I always use my middle initial.
Nice.
Fun fact. Jay?
Sure. So Jay McBain with Canalys. I'm an analyst in the industry. Fun fact is we've taken our kids, I think, to 85 countries now, including Zimbabwe. And this Christmas, we will be celebrating with penguins in Antarctica.
Wow. Very cool, Jay.
Very nice. And Heather H.
Hey, Heather Harlos. I am the head of Global Partner Programs and Enablement for Proofpoint, a cybersecurity company. And a fun fact about me is if you go to DragonCon, you may find me cosplaying there every year.
Nice.
So.
I like that. Yay.
Love that.
Mic drop.
Right.
Excellent. Lucy?
Yeah, hi everyone. So my name is Lucy Villager and I'm working for Schneider Electric. I'm working in the digital engagement and even for our partners in industrial automation. I have a little bit of experience in ABM, but mostly on the end user segments with my previous role. And a fun fact about me is that during COVID, I managed to do a French baking diploma remotely. So now I have more skills into making like French cakes.
Wow. I just have to interject for a second, Lucy. I left the business for a couple of years and became a pastry chef as well.
Oh my God. Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, in fact, that'll be the next event, I think. We'll have to do it in person.
In person, definitely.
Outstanding. And I'm Bob Samuels. I'm a founder of Tech Connector, a B2B lead gen marketing solution provider. Very little background in channel, like Lucy, more of the direct marketing, but interested in learning more about the similarities and differences. That'll be fun. My fun fact is I'm very much getting into pickleball lately since COVID. It's a big thing. I'm living it and loving it, and it's been fun. So that's my thing. So let's get on with the show. And so the topic is channel marketing with and through partners. And Heather Margolis, if you can maybe give a little bit of a background of what the differences are and similarities, that would be helpful.
Sure. So where I come from, the more sort of traditional channel, and also with more of the partnership leaders, we consider marketing to, or communications to, the way you recruit your partners, keep them engaged, keep them informed, make sure that they know where they are in your program and how they need to transfer to the next level or promotions you're running. That's considered the to arm. And then with, which I like much better, we used to call it through, and it just felt like you were like spearing a partner, like through the partner. But now we call it with, which is much more collaborative, is the act of doing sales and marketing with your partners to an end customer. Sometimes that means you're doing everything for them. Sometimes that means you're giving them resources. Sometimes that means you're giving them money, which are called market development funds, or MDF. And it really just depends where your partners are, where your program is, and how much money you have.
Yeah, thank you. And then let's get a quick poll out there just to get our audience engaged. So how many of you are finding marketing through partners versus marketing with partners to be the way to go, and what's the most useful for you so far? Is there anybody able to see the answers except for me? Okay, you can't yet. So it's very overwhelming. Wow. Okay. So here we go.
Keep us in the dark, Bob.
I'll keep it going. Okay, wait a couple more minutes. 19 out of 25 in. I'll do 5 more seconds. 4, 3, 2. And there's your 20. And the answer is
nice.
marketing with 80%.
And that wouldn't surprise me. This topic is very marketing with. So I'm guessing 80% of the people, that's their focus for their role.
But
they're both important.
Yeah, there's an important nuance. There's an important nuance to this, though, that 80% of people want to market with their partners, but the research shows that 66% of your partners aren't all that interested in it. So when you actually do surveys across all 24 industries, there are your partners who are mostly small, local, hyper-local businesses, either don't have the time, the money, the skills, the belief that marketing works. So in 2/3 of the cases, you have to market on behalf of them, or market, some way for them, to be successful. And so the with part of it is always good, because that's the 1/3 of your audience that really wants to jump onto your program, really use the tools and work with them to go to market. But in 2/3 of the cases, it ends up on the other camp. And the companies that don't do it well don't recognize that the majority of their partners is a different audience.
That's interesting. So it doesn't necessarily matter what you want or what you care about. If the partners aren't into it, it's not necessarily going to happen.
I would add to that I think often it's missed where, as a vendor, you want to only talk about you and your products. And I think when you're starting to work with partners, it's more important to understand what their portfolio and the total solution looks like and how you fit within that. Because if you're able to sort of cross that bridge, I think more people are willing to work with you. And honestly, you're actually helping them drive their business versus just your category within it.
Yeah, I think that's sorry, go ahead, Lucy.
Thank you. I was just going to say that in this case, presenting the full ecosystem around the partners are more impactful when we want to do the marketing together and present success stories, use cases when we represent the full solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the use case and the success stories are really key, especially to Heather's earlier point about the complementary, often the complementary solution to a customer's environment is really key to the conversations that you're having with partners overall. It's where do we complement the whole is part of this conversation that certainly we've been having with our partner community for sure.
Yeah, and to go just sort of one step farther into that, I think it's more about what are the business outcomes you're driving for their customers rather than the sort of bits and bytes that actually make it happen in the background.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the marketing too for us is a big component of the team's role, and the way that we are driving our content into our partner community and quite frankly into our customers and across our sales organization is associated with what we're calling our value drivers. So it is focused 100% on the value versus the individual point solutions, and that messaging is really starting to resonate well with our partner community.
If I can add on to that a bit, because that is very important, to be able to bring value to, because let's face it, in the channel, most of us are ingredient products. And we all, of course, strive to be the one chosen in your area that is in their tech stack. So then they don't, but what really happens is you have to bring value to your brand on all the way through, value to your brand to them, just so they know. And what I find, actually, Jay, you were spot on. What we found is that they want us to create more materials for them to sell. They don't want to do a lot of width. Now, as they grow bigger or as things happen, or if you have distributors of channel people, definitely you do events, but most of them want to go through, but they also want to be able to show value of your brand within their stack in order to make that whole stack or that whole solution valuable itself.
It sounds like the solutions need to be pretty custom for the different partners. The plain cookie cutter thing doesn't cut it, I guess, is what it sounds like. And it also sounds like the most effective programs are where it's collaborative, where everybody's got some skin in the game. Jay, you mentioned the partners aren't necessarily into doing work, or they're not interested in collaborating. They don't believe in marketing itself. Where's the challenge?
Yeah, I mean, there's different camps, but you can talk in different industries, but there's one thing that makes a partner. The average size HVAC company, the average size insurance broker, the average size car dealer or reseller, VAR, MSP has 8 people. And to pay their mortgage and to drive the business, 7 of them are being deployed in white vans as we speak. The owner principal also is the vice president of finance, HR, operations, sales, marketing, customer success, and product. So when you get to that, 7 minutes a week they can spend on marketing, they probably grown their business over the course of their career, 30, 40 years on word of mouth. The pandemic for them and other things might have reminded them that digital marketing is important. But whether it's a belief, whether it's just not having the time, the resources, the skills, there's a whole number of reasons why through channel marketing, with channel marketing or to channel marketing, the services element becomes critical. The concierge services, the white glove services, the actual doing it for them or doing it on behalf of them becomes critical in 2/3 of this conversation.
And they're appreciative of it. They don't necessarily have the time, but they're open and welcome the work from the
maybe
half
of them are.
Yeah.
It depends what you're taking them away from, right?
Yes.
So if you're saying, I'm going to do all of this marketing for you, it's going to deliver leads to your inbox, and then your salespeople can keep doing what they're doing, which is making calls and sorry, there's some construction all of a sudden that started 30 seconds ago, if you can hear that. And then you have the other partner, the other situation where you're like, we have an ABM program. all you have to do is log into this, load this, upload this, edit that, make that, connect with these people. Like, the harder you make it for them, to Jay's point, the white glove service where they just sit there and you have a silver tray and you put the leads on them, that will work. Here are your overalls and your hammer and your screwdriver, you're going to have to figure it out, doesn't as well. That said, it also depends on the partners, you know? So to Jay's point, the 8 people under 3 million in revenue, probably not. There are also nationals out there who have, you know, a $5 million budget. They're doing their own ABM. They don't want it from each of their vendors, but there are ways for the IT vendor or the you know, BMW of North America to insert themselves to some extent.
I think from our perspective, we really do look to provide our entire partner community the tools and resources to help complement and supplement their own efforts. Where in any partner program, you know, the strategic partners are driving 80% of your business, but they're the smallest community. But that doesn't stop us from encouraging those partners that are much smaller to come in and leverage the tools and the curated campaigns that we have provided within a marketing platform that these partners can come in, spend 5 minutes on uploading a list and executing upon. And, you know, we really are hoping that, you know, that's going to be, you know, a big component of our commitment to our entire partner community, but also to enable, you know, their partners to be able to come in and execute regardless of how small their list may be. You know, an easy, clean way to do that is something that our partners have been asking for. We're hoping big things.
Yeah, giving them the tool to be able to adapt very easily the resources that you can provide them. It's I think an easy step for some partners when they don't have the capabilities or the resources to develop their own assets. So
Yeah.
I also think you can, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
go
off.
ahead.
Oh, no.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I also think it's important to understand what are the things that they do during their day that they can just add one extra touch to. Like, if they're already on social media, you can train them on how to actually grow by targeting their circle of influence within there and expand their audience that way. So the more that you can help them with tools that they're going into every day versus saying, hey, you have to do this new thing, I think you have more success.
Yeah.
What we have been finding great success lately, and believe it or not, this has been not from us pushing it out, is a lot of our partners have been coming to us to ask us to present within their events. And this has been the biggest portion of it. I think to all of us, to Jay's point mostly, and to all of us, these are small people. They are, in our world where MSPs is our 98% of our audience. And so they're there to do tech, IT. They are not a marketer. They're not salespeople, let's face that as well. They are there for IT. So they are looking for help along that arena. And so while we can provide content to them, while we can provide help to them, and even you know, MDFs and stuff, what we found is the most effective is they come to us and they will have a certain a certain topic that we're going to discuss. Say it's cyber insurance, because that's really hot right now. Then they'll invite us and a couple other vendors in to talk about, and we come in and talk ourselves. So it helps them. They don't have to learn how to sell us and bring us through. So we found a lot of success in that, and a lot of expanding of our of revenue and seats from within those people, because you're getting more exposure out there to their audience than you would if, you know, obviously if you're just giving them their own materials to do. So it's been a very odd shift in the past 6 months of having our channel folks invite us into their world and present to their world.
I think that that's another component of marketing with and certainly through for us here at Avanti, marketing with takes an additional stream where our regional growth marketing team are developing their regional plans for their specific markets. And our team is bringing in a portfolio of strategic partners, thought leaders within a specific value driver or solution. And we're inviting partners to speak in our events. So it also flips the other way around. And, you know, the couple of things that we have done to date with partners in that way have been amazing. And, you know, we're hoping to put that on steroids as we head into 2023. So another example of with.
Yeah. One of the biggest changes in marketing, we're going through a big pivot point in our industry through channel marketing is, you know, a few years ago, we recognized that non-transactional partners, those non-resellers might be just as important as the resellers. We know 75% of world trade goes indirectly. So obviously that's where the money changes hands, but we're trying to understand partner influence in those first 28 moments better than ever. As companies, almost 3/4 of companies are going through this transition into subscription and consumption models. Yeah. We know that the transaction now is only the first 30 days. And those partners that show up every 30 days forever to get you a customer for life become critical. And those marketing moments don't happen just before the point of sale or during the first point of sale, but every 30 days forever. So what we thought of these non-transacting partners is, you know, who are they? The average customer, mid-market and larger, has 7 partners they trust. The average vendor recognizes 1 or less of them. So in those other 6 partners, you know, who are they and what roles do they perform? Either before, during, or after the actual transaction, whether they take the money or not. The technology alliances, you know, Tom mentioned being an ingredient, a building block. So much of the future is built on tech alliances, whether it's software driven, Internet of Things, emerging tech. It's this Intel inside, maybe without the sticker on the front of the product. Tech alliances, strategic alliances, and business alliances. How do you market to, through, and with a partner that never collects the customer's money, never generates any MDF, which is a component of the transaction? And how do you go back to your CFO and your board and ask for capital dollars, the same dollars they've used to hire people and run a Super Bowl ad, and convince them to go invest marketing to, through, and with these non-transactional partners?
Thank you for saying that, Jay. I hope my CEO sees this.
It's being recorded.
That's great. So Heather Margolis, when we spoke earlier, you had talked about how instead of just doling out money, sometimes you encourage the partners to, they basically sell themselves on how they would use the money. How does that work? And I guess there's some partners that aren't interested and others are.
Right. So it all used to be accrual, which just means you sell 100K in revenue and you get $1,000 to spend. That left a lot of unused budget, which then the CFO, who, sorry if there are any CFOs on the phone, don't understand the channel anyway or the value of the channel anyway, is going, why are we putting all of this money and no one's actually using it? So instead, companies have shifted to proposal-based, which means the partner comes to the IT company and says, here's my idea. I'm going to, as part of it, building an ecosystem, I'm going to partner with these other 2 partners who also sell. That one's a better tech person. That one's a better customer success person. I'm more the sales and marketing. We're going to pool all of our funds. Here's our proposal. This is how much money we want. And for one thing, they come to you with an idea that has, you know, potential goals and KPIs, so that if it doesn't work out that way, you know, in the future how you would spend differently, what you would do differently. So the proposal versus accrual leaves budget. It gives everybody a little bit, but not really enough to do anything with. And it doesn't really double down on those partners who have ideas, who have the willingness to do the legwork and to actually produce something.
Yeah. That's how we approach our marketing. It is an expense line. We do have a partner type where we use a contract program with, but it's all proposal based. And it's not just on the tactic either. We're looking for those strategic partners. You know, those are the partners that are bringing 80% of the business in to develop a plan that has multiple tactics within that aligns to their business plan with a very structured business outcome. And approve upfront, and the partner executes for the year, and we can, you know, turn the dials where we need to. Marketing through.
So I'm curious if you all measure the ROI of programs. You know, there's probably a short-term measurement and the long-term. Long-term, you know, you don't know, you know, sales don't happen for 6, 8, 12 months. So how do you measure the performance of the programs, or do you, or maybe you just consider it to be a cost of doing business and whatever you get, you get?
I think there's several layers to that. So I think when you create the plan with the partner and the strategy, all the way down to why do you think somebody's going to react the way you think they're going to by running this campaign, actually having that conversation. You need to identify what are your sort of first touch point success metrics, what are your middle of the road, and then what do you anticipate to close after that? Because a lot of times, if you only look at the revenue number, you may be measuring something that the person or the campaign that you're actually running for, they aren't ready to actually make a buying decision yet. And that's something I think people overlook with marketing. Are we asking them to do the right thing at the right time? If it's the first time they're hearing about us, well, maybe your success metric is around engagement and having that first conversation, which then converts to actually a revenue number. But I think you have to be very deliberate with knowing what you're measuring and why you're measuring it that way.
That is so important. I think that the sales cycle is so important on that, Heather. Absolutely, because you know, when you're a software vendor like us, you're displacing someone. It's not like there's a need for someone to do the backup. They have someone else in there, so you're displacing them, and you're trying to displace a contract that may be 1 year, it may be 3 years, and so trying to go after that big fish is not going to take a month and then get them up and running. So you really have to have an idea of how long it's going to take, and what do you do within those timeframes, you know, that are your milestones before you do get that big fish. Absolutely.
And some of the money, I think I forgot who mentioned it before, but some of the money that's spent is in the name of building the relationships with the partners, not necessarily to drive sales.
Yes.
And it's hard to put an ROI to that.
I'll make a couple comments on ROI, counter to some of the comments that were just made. You know, one is only 1/3 of your audience would ever have the capacity or capability of generating a proposal, and only a small percentage of those would actually do it. So what you end up doing is stop playing Moneyball and aiming for singles, and you're back with your MDF trying to aim for the fences. With, you know, digital marketing, your whole idea is the capacity to get to hyperlocal. Your ability to win, because all of the different rented land that you're going to be living on is hyperlocal. If you're going to do an SEO campaign and have a partner, you know, pick up a keyword for $2 a click, what you would be paying for $20 a click nationally. Google is a consumer search engine that works hyperlocal. They think you're going to get an oil change, and they're going to show you the front page results within 5 miles of the person searching. So you need that small partner with 8 people down the street, 5 miles from that customer, to have that ebook that gets organically placed on page 1. So its breadth is not, and it's not as much depth to be successful. You want to move over to social media? You know, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the way down to TikTok is hyper local. And they're trying to match you with businesses in a strip mall down the street. And guess what? To be successful there, it's not just your, 10 or 20 partners that put together the best proposal. It's getting out to Larry in the white van in Wichita. And whether Larry does it himself or you help Larry, you got to be doing these digital campaigns with the level of breadth to be successful. And so I could go down all the other digital campaigns or tactics you might use. The whole point of partner marketing, again, is not to hit home runs, it's to hit singles. And you need technology to do that. You need automation to do that. And you need the wherewithal within your partner marketing department to realize that as well.
Fantastic analogy, by the way, Jay. The singles, baseball analogy, fantastic. Because as anyone who plays baseball knows, that you just try and get people in, you don't go for the biggies, and that's how you continue to get your runs. So I'm going to steal that from you. That's fantastic.
It looks like we lost Bob.
Yeah, I think
so. Lucy, you want to host?
No, I was just going to say, based on what you were saying, Jay, that all the different tactics, that you can leverage with the partners is definitely a discussion and the proposal also to build together from the beginning. And that's where I wanted to also make the parallel with the end user side and how we can work with end user segment. Usually we talk a lot about the marketing teams collaborating with the sales team is fundamental, and this is where we wish to be in every company, is to have a strong relationship, but that's always a challenge. But in this case, it's really been having a strong relationship between the company and the partners to be aligned on where we want to go together and which tactics we can elaborate to achieve the goals. Hey, Bob, you're back. And you're on mute.
You're muted. There you go.
Thank you. Yeah, I lost my internet. I'm back. All right. Hope I missed something good. So
Lucy's brilliant.
There we go. So one thing I'm curious about is how do you deal with internal buy-in, dealing with your boss, dealing with the CEO, dealing with your internal sales group, internal customer support. Do they welcome the work of the partners? Do they see them as part of their team? Do they see them as competition?
I think for us, it really does start at the top. The value of the channel from the top down. That's where it starts for us within our own marketing organization. The entire team has a component of a channel plan, and with us to show the engagement across direct and channel, but it does start at the top. Our North Star goals, for example, are inclusive of our partner community. It's not us versus them. They are an extension of Ivanti. I'm not saying that it's the kumbaya, but it is certainly from the top. My own organization has we are fully integrated.
In our organization, it's kind of a little different. The sales and marketing lead the partner programs that go on. And we have been lucky since now COVID let us start visiting people. We have been lucky to have actually the CEO and our CFO join one of these partner programs. So now they have seen for the first time firsthand what goes on, because that relationship is so important, because that relationship is going to build along the line. I'm lucky to work at a company where we actually engage in our partners with our product. So our product features and updates come from our partners themselves. because they say, no, I don't want this, I want this. So we make sure, so we have that through actually product sales and marketing, but it's always been a little out there for our C-level. So when they actually show up at an event, they see the relationship we have, then they start understanding more. And then I think to your question, Bob, they start seeing more of the value without the ROI necessarily tied to it.
Yeah. And Tom, I think you had mentioned earlier that, not only do the partners have a voice, but they have a huge voice. You're very partner centric.
Yes.
And I think I don't know if you guys are unique. You were more than 90% sales are through partners. I'm curious what everybody else is, what percent of your sales are partner versus direct, or if you're able to share?
Right now we're about 98% or so partner, only 2% direct. Because we made a conscious effort to be a channel-oriented company when we started ourselves to begin with, because we knew the value of, again, trying to be in their tech stack, and those are the people that are more important, particularly with small business. Our product is phenomenal for small business, and so therefore small business, it leads to outsourcing IT, MSPs, et cetera. So we went directly to the IT person and worked with them. So it's been a very big success story for us, particularly from the product end of things. And now that we've been, and it's interesting because when I came in right before COVID, so we got all our leads through trade shows before. So they said, Tom, your first thing is to find out how to do leads without a trade show. So it's it's been a very interesting process to go through. But at the end of the day, we finally found, we evolved to, it's really working with the partners. I by all means, through is something we don't really do. We help with, because for us, through is a brand only prospect. Because that at the end of the day, for anyone who was doing media in the 90s, when we had to go from CRN and all those tech magazines to Business Week, Forbes, and Fortune, because if the CEO sees the IT recommendation and doesn't know at least the brand of what they're recommending, they don't recommend. And this, by the way, thank you, Jay. I clapped when you brought it up for Intel, because I worked on Intel from Pentium 3 to Pentium 2 all the way through Core 3, i5, i7. So seeing all that evolution and change going on, you're exactly right. And so what we found here is that like going to the partners and working with them is really the way to go. We've tried everything from list buys to lead gen. I can list all of them to you. And at the end of the day, the highest revenue comes when we're working with our partners.
Yeah, I sold laptops, ThinkPads for 17 of those years. So very, very much connected to Intel as a partner. But
nice.
I will say though, like as you grow your company,
yeah,
and to get after your market TAM globally, you're going to have to drop that 98%. A third of your customers that sit out there want to buy direct. And by the end of the decade, a third of them are going to want to buy your products on a marketplace. So while 96% of your business will be partner assisted, and 96% of those partners ought to be marketed with, through, and to,
yeah,
only a third of them are going to be sourcing or collecting the customer's money. So we need to make this differentiation. And as channel marketers, we always have to look at that larger number.
Yeah.
At those 7 partners inside every one of our customer prospects, and how much of that can we monitor, measure, and manage? And then how can we go to our senior leadership team and make sure they have this religion to fund what we need to do to get to our market TAM?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that too, because I know my senior level folks will see that. That is our next move forward. So absolutely. Thank you for that, Jay.
Lucy, what percent of your company sales are through the channels versus direct?
I definitely need to double check and see if I can deliver the
that's fine too.
The information. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's somewhere in there, somewhere in the middle, less than 90.
Somewhere in the middle.
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. And I think Tom, you had mentioned that there's you have partner users groups.
Oh yes. So actually, they're out there. Not that we have them ourselves. There are many partners. Again, we're very MSP focused. So there's MSP Alliance, MSP Initiative, MSP, whatever you want to call it. And actually they're global ones as well. Tech Tribe in the UK. So there's really there's many good associations that you can also work with. And a lot of them have events that they do as well, road shows, that type of thing. So it's another good venue to go to be very focused with your audience, because I find otherwise it's hard to focus your audience unless you get into these type of arenas, like buying lists, going to lead gen programs with lists and databases. Gets very difficult from an MSP standpoint, and especially ours that I think Jay mentioned, they start as mom and pop people to begin with, and they still have that mentality. So it's hard to get them in those larger arenas, but you get them in these associations because the nice thing about them is they are friendly competitive. They'll sit in you'll have a competitor that probably works a mile down the road. They'll still talk to each other about their business and what's going on in this amazing forum. So we try and look to those forums. And if we can just listen in, that's fantastic. As a marketer, it's fantastic to hear what's on their minds. But they also let people join in, let vendors join in as well. So it's an excellent place to look for adding more audience when you're in the MSP world.
Yeah. And so do any of you else do you have your partners do they have their own users group? Or maybe they have it and they don't invite you.
We have a regional partner advisory where we lead it, but the partner advisory runs the agenda, and they are bringing the agenda to Evanti. But they're leading, all things related to the program solutions. We're also in the process of aligning our partner community into our customer, our solution user groups as well, where the partner absolutely does have a valid input into those customer communities as well.
Yeah, and I think Heather Harless, I think you had mentioned what part of your.
Oh no, are we going to lose him again?
I don't know what
I think he's probably. I think he's going to ask you what part, how many you have direct versus channel as well. Sounds like that's where he was going.
Okay, I'll go with that. So I won't share the exact number because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to, but the majority is through channel. What I will say is I think it's really important, and I do agree with you, Jay, that, I mean, you are going to have people that you have to take direct. Like that's just, it's the way they purchase. They don't go through partners. It's the way of life. What I do think is important is that you have to find swim lanes so that a partner knows this is what qualifies as a direct prospect for us versus this is what qualifies as being one that we will work with a partner on. Because the worst thing you can do is have them see you as, oh, they're going to go poach and take it direct. No, that's not the intention.
Right.
This is the type of business that we'll consider taking direct, not guaranteeing we'll take it direct, but here's what we'll consider, and everything else goes through partners.
Thank you, Heather. That's exactly what I was saying to Jay earlier, where we're heading. This is exactly where we're at right now, is that definition. It's very important because you have all these MSPs and partners. You don't want to poach for them, or you don't want to think that we're taking business from them to direct. So that's literally in the area we're at right now as well. It's a very important area.
Does that not come down to segmentation as well, Jay, Heather?
I mean, I think it depends on your business model and what type of businesses you serve. If you look at some vendors, it's based off of the size of the end user. So if it's a Verizon, for example, who doesn't work with a partner, then maybe that's the size that you draw your line in the sand on. But I think it's very unique to the company and the vendors. Jay, go ahead and sound way smarter than me.
No, it's regardless of what you sell, what product you sell, assume that your customer has 7 partners. They could be industry consultants. They could be digital agencies. Obviously, there's system integrators and MSPs and VARs. And there's 20 different types over my shoulder. It's going to be a different mix. It's going to be a different segment. But finding out who they are, and I'll tell you that the biggest mistake that we see in marketing to partners is people with this. I'll use another baseball analogy for Tom. It's the field of dreams approach. We're going to build it and they will come.
Oh yeah.
Our event, we're going to build out our email list. We're going to build out our podcast. We're going to build out this huge community of partners. They're going to love us. Well, 80% of how they're influenced happens outside of your firewall. And there are 14 different spheres. And if you want to talk MSPs for a minute, for Tom, 84,000 of them. It's a law of a few. If you actually ask them and go and double click globally, they read 85 magazines. That's the real number. They go to 150 shows, bigger shows. They listen to 100 podcasts. I've got all these lists out there if you want to go find them. They, are in 24 key associations. They're in dozens of peer groups. They are in vendor communities and distributor communities. So you can go around these 14 spheres, and there's about 1,000 watering holes. And I could tell you week by week where you need to be. Early last week in Washington, later in the week in Orlando. Yeah. Right now, you should be actually down in Fort Lauderdale. I could tell you where the events and where these watering holes are to get this one-to-many approach. And the 100 most important people at these watering holes, the super connectors, that could be saying nice things about you on their platform, multi-platform, in these watering holes, is where your partners are going to be influenced. Mm-hmm. And that's the story of channel marketing too. And then you get the opportunity to go ask and work with them on the with and through side of things.
That's great.
And that's when Jay drops the mic. Sorry, I'm muted because, massive construction down the hall.
I'm not a pastry chef, but I'm out counting podcasts.
Exactly. I think I was on the podcast list one day. But I think it's important to ensure that your partners are hearing from you, but the mistake I made when I was at a very large company almost 20 years ago was that I assumed, but we're XYZ. Mm-hmm. Of course they want to do business with us. And that might have been true in 2005, but it's definitely not true now. Partners have a ton of options. Just because you build it, to Jay's point, they won't come. And you need to ensure that the partner feels like you understand their business as much as they need to understand your solution.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did want to go back to a topic that Bob asked about the executive engagement, or at least my response to that. Where our partner marketing organization is also responsible alongside the channel teams, our internal channel teams. We are also the voice of our partner community back into Eventy. We have to understand, specifically as it aligns to our strategic partners, their technical and marketing aptitude, experiences, and continue to bang that drum into the organization to further complement and substantiate the channel value. I think it's probably as important as executive leadership communicating that the channel is part of our go-to-market. And therein comes in the account-based planning experience that we have, where we're voicing the partners that we have in our community and their technical experience and customer engagement. And that's what we bring to the table when we look at co-account planning as well.
So speaking of co-account planning, thank you for that, Lee. Do you all share your ABM list with your partners? Do you ask them to share their list? Is there a private sit down where you do a show me yours, you show me mine kind of thing?
Jay can speak better to this, but there are some really great companies out there, including Crossbeam and PartnerTap and WorkSpan, that allow you to collaborate with your partners, where they can load their list, you can share information, you can hide information so that you know where your partners are going after. At the end of the day, it's about the customer. Who does the customer want to do business?
Okay.
The customer prefers to do business with partner A, but partner B registered it. That shouldn't happen. Partner A should get that account. So it's important to ensure that you are sharing that information with your partners and let them lead where it's preferred.
Yeah, so how do you trigger the ABM approach? And this is probably where most of the innovation has happened on the tech stack in the recent years. You know, if the through channel marketing automation platform you might have, if it happens on your platform, you get to see the click, you get to see the lead in real time, you get to manage it and trigger the ABM approach from there. Well, guess what? It doesn't happen there the majority of times. If it happens on a larger partner's Marketo, Eloqua, HubSpot instance, or Pardot instance, there are now tools. You mentioned Crossbeam and Reveal and PartnerTap and Workspan and others that you can do this early account mapping, even if you don't own the platform. You know, there's these double-blind escrow services now. The partners are motivated to share their data with you, not send you a spreadsheet that you can hand over to your direct team they think you're doing, but put it up into a cloud where there's this matching, and you can trigger these joint ABM approaches with partners, given these, you know, two sides of the sieve. There's also another layer of innovation happening around attribution, which comes around the consumer space. You know, before you hire Kim Kardashian to go run an Instagram ad for $1 million, you kind of want to know that there's some level of return that you can measure. Well, on the B2B side now, you know, in those 28 moments before your customer makes a decision in your favor or against you, the more of that partner activity across those 28 moments that you can attribute to, they read an ebook, they listened to a podcast, they had a hotel lobby bar conversation, the more things through science and art that you can kind of tap into and connect to the point of sale along the way. There are companies like Impact and Partnerize and Awin and coming strong from the consumer space to help us as another layer. Now that's 3 layers of channel marketing technology to figure out these first 28 moments. And again, these companies raised about $3 billion last year. Marketplaces are going to play a bigger and bigger role in that early journey moments and signals. And we're going to be collecting a data lake full of signals, trying to connect the dots back to vendor selection and purchase, and then obviously triggering everything else. And for the larger deals, we want to make sure we funnel that to our sales team, marketing team in an ABM approach. And maybe for the smaller, more commodity purchases, we just want to make sure digitally that we're automating those next moments that land our customer prospect into our camp.
So I have a curiosity, Jay. You were mentioning 28 touch points. Is that how many licks it takes to get to the center of the Tootsie Pop? I mean, you know, constantly people are saying, how many touch points does it take to turn someone? In the olden days, it was 3, you know, look, recognize, react. Is 28 from your research you've done, or curious about that?
Yeah, we did a big future of buying B2B kind of global multi-million-dollar piece of research last year, kind of in that throes of the pandemic.
Right.
For everybody listening, the last time you bought a car, going from 62 companies and 365 brands and starting to narrow it down, you know, you're on social media, you're watching videos on YouTube, you're reading Motor Trend magazine, you're on Edmunds, you're on Carfax, then you go configure, price the car, then you download the invoice price, then you download the back-end rebates the dealers make. By the time you hit the dealer, you're so smart. On average, in a considered purchase in B2B, again, average, it can be 12, it can be 50. On average, it's 28.
Interesting.
On average, your direct marketing team, if they hit a home run, are going to get into 4 of them. Who's in the room with them that is responsible for the other 24 moments? Partnering with that individual or company that's responsible for that moment, owns that moment. And because in the post-cookie world, you can't buy that data anymore.
Right.
Those 28 moments is now squarely a channel marketing partnership problem. So this is our world, and this is the decade ecosystem where we're going to embed ourselves in that marketing boardroom. And while they're trying to get their 4 licks, like when you go configure the car on Mercedes or Ford's website,
right,
that's one of 28 moments.
Right.
We're going to be focusing on the other 24 and trying to build that customer to buy our car.
Gotcha. That's great. Thank you.
That is great. Thank you for that. So we have a question from our audience. How do your partner marketing teams working with the channel account managers, or excuse me, how are your partner marketing teams working with the channel account managers and partner enablement teams? So Heather Margolis, do you want to take a shot at that?
I don't have those teams, so I'm happy to answer it, but I feel like Lee or Lucy or Heather would be well suited.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can jump in. So we work very collaboratively with our teams. What I think is really, I think the leader of it is really the channel account manager. They're the ones that own the relationship, that understand the business, and are talking to the partners every single day and know what their needs are, know where their gaps are. So I almost see them as a quarterback for this greater team that comes in and then supports around them. But I think if you look at it, like, you kind of have your lanes of expertise, but really it's that central person that brings us all together.
Yeah, I agree with you, Heather. I think the channel manager are a very key important person in this relationship. That's where the marketing needs to also support and enable them with the right strategy, the right tools. And I want to say this also depends when we talk about the partner side, about their resources, as we were mentioning at the beginning of the discussion. If they have like a marketing team who is doing the marketing, who is the point of contact, and how that will be managed with the channel manager. So I think it's a very a strong relationship between all of them, but the channel manager is the key person.
Yeah, agreed.
Thank you. So we just have a few minutes left. It's been a good conversation. I wanted to find out if anybody has any final thoughts or any questions for Jay. Any words of wisdom?
Tom, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Having three screens messes up sometimes. So my curiosity is to the whole panel is how important is content in your efforts for anything, ABM channel, what it might be?
I've got a quick opinion, and it might not be that popular, but back to the Moneyball approach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're running a larger vendor. There can't be spelling mistakes. There can't be grammar mistakes. It's got to look beautiful, pixel perfect, you know, beautiful.
Right.
But, you know, perfection is the enemy of, you know, good. It is about quantity. You know, you want to be there in all of the watering holes and all the different places, in the 30 different ways people consume content, and you're not swinging for the fences. You can make that perfect brochure, and for every minute it spends trying to perfect it, you could have been out in a dozen other places. So you want to be multiplying the amount of partners by the amount of channels, by the marketing channels, by the amount of watering holes, by this and this and this, and you want to become you know, machinery in generating content.
Gotcha.
I would add to that, I totally agree with Jay. I would add that it has to be specific to the audience. So don't send somebody in automotive something that you developed for the tech industry. It really needs to speak. It has to have the right tone, the right semantics, the right acronyms that are really going to resonate with that person. But to Jay's point, it can be quick and dirty as long as you're saying the right things.
Yeah, and also tagging at the right moment, where in the journey they will need to have this piece of content, because maybe that's the great asset that we have created. But if they don't see the asset at the right time, that won't be as impactful as it could be.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Awesome. Thank you.
Beautiful. All right. Thank you all. Any other words of wisdom? Otherwise, I will we'll conclude the webinar. It's been excellent. It's been fun and entertaining as advertised.
Thank you, Bob. It's great.
Thanks, everyone.
It's great to meet all of you as well. Thank you so much.
You as well.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you.
Bob.
Go off and do good things.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good. Bye-bye.